あるとマイクみたいになりたい。でも電話してくれない。オークランドとブックレンドから世界チャンピオン。バーチャルプローズ始まるよ。バーチャルプローズ。バーチャルプローズ。
Boy, you should know that I had you on my mind, secret admirer. I've been watching you. Should I swing my way? Sure look good to me. Now would you please swing my way? Should I swing my way?
Episode 10 of the Virtual Pros Podcast. My name is Al, a.k.a. Stone Cold Steve Sosson, a.k.a. Flocka Michinoku, a.k.a. 100 Man Gang, a.k.a. Henny Omega, and with me, from Brooklyn, 3 hours ahead, Eastern Standard Time, is Mike.
Hey, I'm Mike, a.k.a. Wavy Boy Smith, a.k.a. Quarter Juice Robinson, a.k.a. Lean Snitsky.
We made it to 10 episodes. It's kind of crazy.
Yes, we did it. We are already the best. Oh, it took a long time, but we are the best wrestling podcast in the world.
Absolutely.
Yes. Took 10 episodes, which is a long time, but we did it.
It took like 7, honestly. After that, like DVD, VR episode, like we just had the crown, like without question. Hit us up on Twitter if you haven't already at VRTLPros. We started an Instagram where me and Mike are gonna post crazy merch and crazy screenshots.
Just to clarify, I would like to make our Instagram somewhere of a cross between $1 Million Champion and Up North trips, but more in the vein of like pure like Japanese wrestling and stuff like that.
I don't even know what that is, but it sounds cool.
Oh, Up North trips is like basically like a retro rap Instagram where they post like old stickers and like single covers and stuff like that. And $1 Million Champion is just like the for whatever reason the one Instagram account for wrestling that just basically posts like old screenshots of WWF that for whatever reason has millions of followers. Like I don't know why that one guy got this fame, but it worked out for him. But yeah, I've never seen Al's merch in real life, but I have a lot of bangers in my collection, and I know where to find other stuff, so it's definitely worth checking out. Check out our Instagram, VRTL Pros. It's better than looking at some girl's salad that's never gonna have sex with you, that you follow, liking her pics, just hoping one day she's gonna be like, oh, I saw that you like my salad, so I'm gonna have sex with you, because that's never gonna work.
I forgot to drop my other nickname that I thought of today, which is the Todokan Don. That shit's tight, huh? And also, please add us on SoundCloud. Hit that heart. I see you guys hitting it, and it feels real good. And subscribe to us on iTunes. Leave a review. And maybe I'll send you a Chris Jericho DVD. Maybe not. We'll see. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about love and graps. How to explain to your loved one that you're a fan of this unfortunate hobby called pro wrestling. And on top of that, we're going to be covering VRTL Pros, the mixtape. We got all the Wrestle Bays in the house. Megumi Kudo, Akira Hokuto, Kyuri Suzuki. Hey, what's up if you're listening? And my personal number one of all time, Bull Nakano. She's probably listening. What's up, Bull? How you doing? I appreciate those likes.
She follows us. Yeah, she follows us. She follows like 20 people on Twitter, and we're one of those 20.
Yep.
So if for some reason you were sitting here listening to this podcast thinking, I'm too good to follow them on Twitter, just think about Bull Nakano, because she follows us on Twitter.
Yeah, she's a queen, so fucking knock it off.
Also, tell your friends about this podcast, because that's how the love is really spread about podcasts. You probably have one or two wrestling friends, and they have other, they probably have like-minded interests, so tell them to listen to this.
All right, so to lead off is our world-famous two-man scramble. I'm going to lead it off with a topic that's not related to wrestling, but I thought I'd just get your take on it, Mike. In Podcast Down, the Facebook group that you've started, you stated that Big L was trash. I want you to explain yourself.
I I think he gets a little too much hype because he died, just like most people who died. I personally don't like Tupac. I know why people like Tupac, but I don't like him. And I think
what are your theories on that? I have one, and I just think it's because he's a dreamboat, and that's it.
Why
people like Tupac? Yeah,
I think it's just because people don't know who Scarface is, and like he kind of ripped Scarface's whole style off, but made it like a little more poetic. I don't really like super poetic rap. I don't like super poetic rap, and much like Big L, I don't like super jokey punchline rapidy rap. And I think Scarface does Tupac better than Scarface. But I understand why people would like that rap. But I think it's because he's a dreamboat, because he does have like a lot of female.
Yeah.
For a rapist, he has a lot of female fans, and that's really odd. A dead rapist on top of that.
It's just, for me, Tupac decided to play Bishop in Juice, and then he was like, you know what? I'm going to be Bishop forever.
And there's so many, back in the day, I could understand falling into that, but there's so many rappers that have come out and are just like, yeah, he wasn't like that. That was just an act, just like all of us. And I don't know. But anyways, to get back to Big L, yeah. I don't think he's trash. I just think he has that one compilation of all the songs he made before he died, and it gets sickening to listen to after like the 3 songs. You listen to 2 Big L songs, you're good. It's kind of just like the first time I heard like the old compilation of all R.A. Rugged Man songs, I was like, man, this guy's like the best rapper ever. And I fucking cringe just thinking about listening to R.A. Rugged Man now. So it's just like times and places, and I just think we have all outgrown Big L. He's no longer the greatest dead rapper dead. I guess not alive. The greatest rapper not alive.
To continue our tradition of comparing wrestlers to rappers, I think Big L is the wrestling equivalent of Magnum TA, where you kind of saw how great he could have been, but it just never happened. I mean, in the case of Big L, he got shot, and in the case of Magnum TA, Dusty Rhodes cut his brakes. So both tragic events, but it just didn't work out.
Yeah, Magnum TA would have probably went on to be a chicken farmer in WWF, and Big L would have went on to make horrible songs with, I don't even know at the time, like fucking Ja Rule? I don't know, somebody horrible.
Big L was going to get signed to Rockefeller, so it would have been him and Memphis Bleak just spitting that crack. So knock it off.
Yeah, okay.
So what were your topics for Two Man Scramble, Mike?
Okay, so this whole episode is dedicated to the ladies, and this is kind of a belated Valentine's Day episode because we just missed it.
Yep.
So all my topics are kind of lady-centric. The first one is a hot topic in the internet wrestling world, and it is intergender wrestling. And I just wanted to know how you felt about intergender wrestling, Al.
So, I mean, personally, it's not for me. I'm not going to sit down and look up, hey, when is Candice LeRae wrestling another dude? Because I'm not into that. It's just not for me. I think that wrestling is best when you can suspend your disbeliefs. And I can't suspend my disbelief for that. It's a man fighting a woman. I'm not trying to be a fucking sexist. And I'm not going to say that Ronda Rousey can't pound me out if it came down to it. But
she could pound me out, that's for sure.
Got him. But I don't watch wrestling for that. But at the same time, on the other side, if that's what you want to do, that's totally fine with me. Like, I saw this clip of Kana, aka Asuka, just take a vicious headbutt to the face by, I think, Yuki Ishihara, or whatever that fool's name is. And it made me cringe. Like, I didn't like it one bit. But, she signed up for it. So who am I to say that, you know what, you can't do that, Asuka? That's crazy.
Yeah, it's kind of different strokes for different folks. I don't think you should have the power to be like, no, you shouldn't ever do that.
Yeah.
You just don't watch it if you're not into it. I have no problem with it. I don't want to see it all the time. There was a time when China would wrestle dudes all the time because she was as big as a dude. And that kind of makes sense because she's as big as a dude. It's like why Cyborg can't fight Ronda Rousey because she's as big as a dude and Ronda Rousey's not. So It's just like, as long as you could do it in a way where you could suspend disbelief, it's fine. You could fucking fight a midget if you want. Like, as long as you could suspend disbelief, I have no problems with it. Fuck. That just brought up a point and now I can't remember it. You said Kana.
Man, I saw this good intergender match between Stoker Ishihara and Akira Hokuto, and that was awesome because Akira Hokuto just fucking Northern Lights bombed Stoker really hard, and it made me laugh.
What year did that take place?
Like 2002, I don't know, somewhere.
She was still wrestling then.
Yeah, I think so.
I think this is Al's alternate universe timeline where how he knew who Rey Mysterio was in 5th grade. Rey Mysterio.
Hey, I did.
7-year-old Al watching AAA for Rey Mysterio.
Just taking notes on work rate, watching Telemundo on a Saturday in my fucking jammies. That's how I did it, man.
Yeah. Okay, if I remember what I was going to say before, I'll get back to it. But my next topic was girls on Twitter.
Yeah.
There's a lot of girls on Twitter. A lot of them, not a lot of them, but there's a few that are into wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to name names, but they refuse to follow us back, except for Bull Nakano, who's the nicest girl because she follows us back.
Yeah.
But anyway, I found out recently that a lot of them have to deal with a lot of shit on Twitter from pro wrestling dude fans that DM them and ask them things like name somebody's record, his 1-loss record, and just real dumb shit that no one should know. And I just wanted to say that I understand when you're like 18 years old and you're just super fucking excited to find out that a girl is into some dork shit that you're also into, and you maybe think in your brain that talking to her like that might be like sort of flirting in a way, but it's not. It just comes off as really obnoxious and you sound like even more of a fucking nerd. That's a problem with wrestling as it is. Like it seems like some people, that's what I wanted to bring up. Okay, before we get into this, then I'm just going to totally sidetrack this girl Twitter thing.
Go ahead.
I talked about it in Podcast Town, which is on Facebook. If you're looking for a group to talk to other podcasters, it's called Podcast Town. Just search for it. I mentioned that I watched the Tanahashi Kenny Omega match. This from New Beginning, with Kenny Omega winning the IWGP Intercontinental belt in what I consider the match of the year now. But that's me, because I think we have disagreeing opinions.
You're wild.
But, yeah, but somebody else, I can't remember your name, buddy. I think your name was Jack, but I think you brought up that there's people bitching on the internet how it really wasn't that great because people ran in, and that makes it like less realistic. And I think when you're that level of wrestling fan, you need to chill out. Like, you need to step outside and pursue other hobbies, because wrestling is fake and you can do whatever you want in it. And that's the beauty of it. It's an art and you can do whatever you want and it works. So you can't just discredit a match because there's a run in. Like I had no problem with it. So
devil's advocate, man. There's not a lot of like run-ins or like what's the word? Like dirty finishes, I guess. There's always clean finishes in a New Japan like main event. Almost 99.9% of the time. This might be like the only exception in the past like 2 or 3 years. I could be wrong. I don't know. So maybe that's why the complaint, came about, but who knows?
Anyway, why don't you think that match was that great?
No, I think that match was really good. I was fucking just, being a dick. I don't think it's match of the year. I mean, you saw Nakamura, AJ Styles. Like, you thought from a wrestling standpoint, that match was better than like anything on Wrestle Kingdom?
I'm very into when wrestling matches tell a story. I'm more into a story than I am good wrestling. So I thought the Kenny Omega match told a way better story, where like you could watch Kenny Omega and Tanahashi alone and it tells a great story. And I mean, it's not like AJ Styles and Nakamura didn't tell a great story, but I just think it told a better story. But that's just my personal opinion. So I don't want anybody out there to fucking lose their shit over it because it's fucking wrestling. Calm down. Anyway, back to these girls on Twitter. So they have to deal with a lot of shit, and you guys need to calm down. At the same time, though, right? You gotta understand if you're a lady and you are into Twitter, or you're into wrestling on Twitter, that you are kind of a rarity, and you're gonna have to deal with this shit. And that's why you have tons of followers, because they are not. I'm sorry to break this to you, ladies. Not that you listen to the show, but they're not following you because of your exciting, unique thoughts on wrestling. They're following you because you have breasts, and that's the way the ball bounces. That's the way the cookie crumbles. That's the way the world turns. All that stuff, and it's unfortunate we live in a society like that, but it's very true. I'm not going to name names, but I saw a female on Twitter post some podcast she was on, and it sounded like a fucking Skype call. Like, it sounded like when I call my boss on Skype and we talk about like serious shit, like design stuff. And so I don't want to listen to that podcast, and I'm sure it gets more listens than our podcast because it's a lady. And that's, we have to fucking work hard. So I just want to say, lady Twitter, lady wrestling Twitter, you have your advantages too. So every once in a while, you have to deal with bullshit.
I'm saying, man, this chick needs to follow me back. That's all I gotta say. I've been working hard.
Yeah, I know. It's ridiculous. And I don't know. I hope I didn't come off like a meninist or anything like that. I love women. I just I know how Twitter works. Like, if you're a person, this always happens no matter what gender you are. If you're a person and you gain a lot of followers doing something specific, maybe as a woman, you gain a lot of followers from showing your butt, showing your boobs, you know, in provocative ways on purpose. And then you get a bunch of followers. Or if you're a guy and you get a bunch of followers by telling a bunch of jokes or showing stupid pictures, they always hit a peak where they're like, now I want to be serious and talk about things that I'm really into. And then they get annoyed because no one cares. And they have to understand the reason people are following you is for that first thing you did. And they really honestly don't give a shit about anything else. So it's just, like I said, that's the way the ball bounces. Okay. My next.
Yeah. PSA, Virtual Pros, we love women. All right.
Yes, I very much love women.
Respect them too.
I don't really need to prove that in real life. I think everybody knows. So, podcast, I don't care, podcast listeners, as long as you keep listening, you can paint this image in your head of me hating women all you want, because it doesn't matter, because this is a podcast.
Just tell a friend.
Life,
just tell a friend.
Tell a friend. Just tell a friend. In real life, ladies know. They know Mike. Ladies love cool Mike, as they say.
There you go.
But you had a topic, because the next topic I have is too big, so
it's all good. So I was gonna bring up how CM Punk, he saw his opponent, or like his future opponent, just wash some dude, and they cut to his face, and it looked like he was like plotting, like, man, how am I gonna email Vince McMahon about how I can get into WrestleMania 33? Because this dude, I think his name is Mickey Gall or something. He hit this dude in the face like square in the face, and he choked him out. And CM Punk was like, I'm 37. It's not going to happen. That's going to happen to me. I need to wrestle Shinsuke Nakamura in Minnesota. So it was like that look in his eyes. So it was really funny. So my question to you was, like, can you name 3 dudes right now in pro wrestling that you want to see in MMA?
Okay, before we get into that, this whole Mickey Gall thing, I think it's expert booking by UFC, because this guy is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guy, and that is like the one discipline that CM Punk could get fucking raked over the coals in, and they could like make a story out of it, because that is like the one discipline where you could just get caught in submission no matter who you are. He's not gonna, but then, you know, he ended up knocking the fuck out of this dude, so that looks bad. But secondly, why did they sign CM Punk to an 8-fight deal? Like, that is ridiculous. He's 37, 38 years old. Signing him to an 8-fight deal is fucking ridiculous. And he just, I didn't follow up on this. The back surgery thing might have been not as bad as it was, and he might still be fighting this dude in a timely manner, but I don't know, man. It does seem like very convenient that he was just like, yeah, I got to get this back surgery all of a sudden.
It's like the record just like stopped playing, and he was like, I can't deal with that. That's not happening.
Also, Michael Bisping reported that CM Punk had 16 simulated fights in his gym and lost 15 of them. So I don't know. It might be time for that back surgery. It might be time for that call. Tino Sabatelli, CM Punk, 2017 WrestleMania.
Hey, you're kind of like a VHS MMA dude. Like, you watch UFC too, right?
Yeah.
Like, CM Punk is gonna do worse than Fred Eddish. Like that one dude that got pounded out, like by Johnny Rhodes, and he just like ended up bleeding everywhere. Like, Fred Eddish is gonna have a way better fucking like showing than CM Punk. I will bet anything that's gonna happen.
The thing he has in his corner is that they want him to succeed so they can make more money off of him. It's not like when they just wanted to humble James Toney and they were like, yeah, we'll have you fight Randy Couture. That's going to be a fair fight. And Randy Couture just fucking thrashes him in a minute.
Yeah.
So they're always going to give CM Punk people he could potentially beat, and he's never going to beat him. But
yeah, but this Mickey Gall dude, like, he looks like he can like scrap. So I mean, why not put him up against like the Glass Joe of MMA, whoever that is, and like let him get that win, let him get that W.
They should have just put him. They own all of these like little minor leagues. They should have just did like they did with Brock and just stick him in some minor league for a minute. But I don't know. But as to answer your question about the 3 MMA people I would like to see in or the 3 wrestling people I'd like to see in MMA, it is all the short, tiny guys from ROH that do MMA moves and they wear MMA clothes. but they are not MMA fighters like Davey, Richie Richards, Edward Eddie, Rod Strong. I know Rod Strong because his name is so ridiculous, but all those guys who want to be the Dynamite Kid. Well, they wanted to be the Dynamite Kid, and now they want to be fucking who fucking knows, fucking Chuck Liddell or whatever the fuck they want to be. And yeah, dude, step it up. Like, you've been training MMA for what, 5 years now? Why don't you do it? You've been training longer than CM Punk apparently. So just get in there, Eddie. You can do it.
I already got it. Like, why did they make CM Punk fight Hoist Gracie? It's not like Hoist Gracie's gonna fucking punch him out. And like
because
that's
Hoist Gracie's in Bellator now. He can't.
They should have just fucking signed him. I mean, I only have 2, I think, and I think like Rusev would do really good because that guy like legit probably could mess someone up in real life. And I want to see Asuka because have you seen her lats? Like, she's built like a Lego man, and it's pretty sweet.
As much as I love Asuka, and we're gonna get into that later.
Yeah.
From my understanding, she was not like one of those little guy girls that started wrestling at 14. She kind of picked this up late in life.
Yeah,
so
she did.
It's kind of weird that she's so good at it, but
yeah.
Okay, my last topic is a big one. It is about Joshi wrestling. My ongoing opinions on it. And earlier, again speaking of MMA, a couple weeks ago, the Twitter user Kid Cash, he has a bunch of numbers after his name, but Kid Cash, he follows us, he interacts with us. I don't know if he's your friend in real life.
No, it's the real Kid Cash from ECW.
It's the real Kid Cash from ECW. He talks to us all the time. And he called me out. He's like, oh, if you don't like women's wrestling, how do you feel about female MMA? And it's kind of too long of an answer for Twitter, but basically, I don't have a problem with women's MMA because it's not overly sexualized. It's not sexualized at all. It's like these women wear no makeup.
Yeah.
They don't wear flattering clothes. They have their hair pulled back in gross ways. They get fucked up, and it's just a fight. And I mean, as it goes on and involves more, I'm getting a little uncomfortable with the striking because it's getting a lot more hard than it used to be. And
yeah, that chick Joanna like can really pick apart somebody. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah. So it's just like it's getting to be a little much, but I can watch it. I enjoy violence, but that just basically led me to once again analyzing Joshi wrestling because you like it and you're a well-adjusted male. So
I think so.
So yeah. So basically, I follow this woman wrestler named Makoto on Twitter. Well, on our Twitter, not on my personal Twitter, but. I said in a few episodes ago, I find her stunning. I think she's a beautiful woman. She's a tall drink of water, even though I read her stats and she's only 5'6", so she's not really that tall. But and I look at her Twitter pictures, and there's a picture of her with holding her own fuck pillow, like her own love pillow.
Yeah. The
body pillows with her picture on it, and she looks pretty happy. She's holding it, she's hugging it, and it made me think that I think my problem with Joshi wrestling is that I was never super into it when I was tape trading. I knew what it was, and I watched it when it was on FMW, and I remember watching clips because that's how I found out the double stomp, the double stomp from the top rope was from Japanese women's wrestling, and I always thought that was a super brutal move, but it wasn't anything I followed. I just thought it was a thing people liked that weren't me, and I never thought sexual things about it or anything like that. Because back then, not a lot of those girls were hot. But
cosign.
Yeah, so fast forward till not now, and basically up until we started doing this podcast, the only thing I thought about women's wrestling was from listening to Observer Radio and those shows on F4W, where there's at least 7 creeps that fucking call in pretty regularly and talk about women's wrestling and how Dave and Brian and Vinny need to fucking watch it because so-and-so did something and blah, 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 and it was so great. And you could tell in the voice, in their voices that they are serious, fucking jerk booth creeps. But they never talk about it as if it's a sexual thing. They never bring it up oh, so-and-so is so hot. They never say that.
Yeah.
And that's what always turned me off about it, is because it's it's kind of the secret thing where we all know why people watch it, but they're not saying it. It's kind of when people review porno, when you're just why are you even fucking reviewing this? Just watching a masturbate. So when you hit that level where you're just reviewing it, oh, this was a great scene, she had cum all over her face, it's just fucking, it's super creepy. And it's the same thing with women's wrestling to me, where if you can just admit it, if you can be I like this woman wrestler because she's fucking hot, then that's fine. Maybe it's chauvinistic to be like that, but I mean, you could like it for the sport too, but I think we all know why you watch the women in the tiny pants. And so my question to you was, does that make me more of a creep that I could just admit it, that I want to watch it because I think the girls are hot?
You know what? People watch wrestling for like all sorts of reasons. Like, have you read Dean Ambrose fanfic? I haven't, but I know it exists. You know what I mean? You watch Joshi because you think the girls are pretty, and I will say that like in 2016, the amount of like babes in Joshi is like at an all-time high. With that said, go ahead.
Also, before you get into that, another piece of merch that I forgot to bring up that I wrote down is that the Puro Central guy who sells stuff, and he sells cool Joshi shit if you're into that. So check him out. If for some reason you don't fucking know he exists, I'm sure you do.
Yeah.
But he's selling a car. What?
He's the Jim Cramer of pro merchandise. So if you're into Mad Money and you're into like Japanese wrestling, like peep that guy out. He's like really good at it.
He was selling a card that had like an authentic kiss mark of some lady wrestler. That's fucking creepy as hell. Like I know in Japan, like Japanese culture, sex and stuff over there is a little like it's portrayed a lot differently than it is here.
Yeah.
Like I don't think it's so much spoken out loud there, but it's also a little more open where you can buy like used panties and fuck pillows and kiss marks.
It's a little more accepted, I'll say.
Yeah, it's a little more accepted to
basically be a fucking creepo.
Okay, yeah, so it's just like, so I don't know, like I'm fine watching this wrestling. I think what brought me to this realization though is like I was like, oh, I've creeped on this Makoto girl for like weeks now. I should maybe sit down and watch one of her matches. I picked one for the mixtape, but I watched one before that. I looked up what her best match supposedly was, and I watched it, and I was like, she's kind of trash. So it's just like, I was like, I can't even like, because that Io Shirai girl, she's hot, and she's also super good at wrestling. So it's like, she's double hot. Makoto does not have that. She's just kind of a wrestler. And
so your question is, do I think it's creepy? It's creepier of you to like just admit that they're hot as opposed to not like admitting they're hot?
Yeah, I mean, I could still get down with like the crazy matches, like the matches we'll talk about later. I could still get down with them, but there's definitely an added bonus to me to just be like, that girl's super hot. Also,
that's anything, man. Like if there's,
I don't
know.
Again, not to like make a double standard, but most girls I know that are into wrestling got into it. You know, they get into it because it's episodic television, like soap operas, just like, you know, actual soap operas. But then they're like, oh, Roman Reigns is fucking hot, Randy Orton's hot. So I feel like I could say these things and not feel like a creep.
Personally, Al from VRTL Pros watches Stardom for the athleticism and the storytelling and for the great pro wrestling that they put on a monthly basis. It's a purely platonic relationship between me and Stardom, and I feel no sexual feelings when watching Stardom. Real talk.
Real talk. I downloaded a bunch of Best of Kana matches because somebody posted that GIF of her fighting Lynn Byron, who is now Lady Hayabusa, and she strips her down to her bra at the end of it. And I was like, I'm gonna fucking go to the ends of the earth to find this match, and I did. And it seems everybody else in the whole fucking internet was too lazy to find this fucking match. But anyway, so I was like, I'm here. I might as well download like 80 more of her matches.
Sure.
And I downloaded them, and it's honestly like too much of a burden for me to put them on a flash drive to watch them on TV, because I'm like, once I do this, that's it. This seals the deal. I'm a fucking creep. And so I can't do it. But I mean, one day I'm gonna be fine with myself. These are all my problems. They're not your problems.
No, they're not.
They're not. I'm just like, it's a hard battle for me to deal with this. Also, again, Al is an Asian man. I am a white man, and there's a lot of stigma with being a man that fetishizes Asian women.
Yeah,
and
you should honestly move to SF, Mike. Like, this is like your mecca. Honestly, you should just come to it.
I'm not a creep about it. I do like Asian women. I like a lot of ethnic women, not just Asian women. So it's just like, it's hard to get into something like Japanese women's wrestling as a white guy with glasses and feel comfortable sharing that information with other people.
I will say, though, to wrap this up, Kari Hojo, hello. Next up, Love and Graps, how to explain to your loved one that you're a fan of pro wrestling. Stay tuned.
Okay, we are back here with Virtual Pros, which you can find on Twitter at VRTL Pros and Instagram at VRTL Pros. And today we are going to talk about women in wrestling. Not so much women wrestling, but women in our lives, in our pasts, and our shameful hobby of watching wrestling. And basically how we explain that to them. And I had other questions basically leading into women related to wrestling.
Before we start, I just wanted to start this whole conversation off with, how do you personally tell other adults that you don't know, like, on a deep level, that you're a fan of pro wrestling? Like, at your workplace or, like, at previous workplaces. Have you ever just led off with, like, hey, my name is Mike, and I like watching Raw on Mondays? Like, has that ever happened in your life? Are you deathly afraid of this?
No, it's like, when it comes to work life, I'm very private. I don't want people to know any of my hobbies, especially wrestling. But this place I've been working on and off for the past year that I'm more working on now than off. I think one of the dudes just like sensed it, and he was like, "Yo, you watch wrestling?" And I was like, "Hell yeah, I watch wrestling." And then we just we talk about wrestling. But the problem with that is that like there's like not many people you're gonna run into on like our geek level of wrestling.
Yeah.
So you always have to like mute it and just be like, yeah, that was cool when Roman Reigns did that thing. You can't be like, no, you have to watch New Japan Pro Wrestling. You don't even fucking know. You can't be like that because then you come off like a fucking dipshit. So it's kind of a, hello, you still there?
I'm listening, man.
Okay. It's still kind of, it's like a curse because yeah, it's just you run into these people, these norms, and they obviously only watch WWF. I have never in my life run into just like a random person that was like super into fucking Japanese wrestling or anything like that. Yeah, anything, off the beaten path, basically.
So I have two related stories that kind of like molded my, attitudes towards revealing or outing myself as a pro wrestling fan. Mm-hmm. So in high school, I was in Key Club, which was like this club that was just all about community service, right? So it's a huge dork. Just needed those clubs to get into college or whatever. So we all went to Great America, which is like this theme park in the Bay Area. And it was like us, like our high school, and like two other high schools, right? So we're going home, and like those like wooden signs that like families get for their houses that say like the Kellys or like the Smiths, right?
Mm-hmm.
This dude, he gets a sign that says the One, and I saw it and I was like, oh my god, don't be Billy Gunn related, don't be Billy Gunn related. And so like these Asian girls were just like, hey, what does the One mean? And then like you just see him just beam, and he's like, you guys watch WWF? And I was like, I almost jumped out of the bus. Like, it's this term called waja, like embarrassment by proxy. And so he was just going on and on about like how much of a fan of Billy Gunn he was. And like at the end of it, I just saw all those girls were just like so confused, and they were like, man, this guy watches wrestling. He's a fucking total loser. So that's why I'm never going to out myself. And at my recent workplace, I was like doing this project on the web, and I was taking a bunch of screenshots of like these browsers and like explaining to like my team about like how the functionality works for this particular app. And I take like 6 or 7 screenshots of the browser, and I felt really good about it because it was like a really good presentation. And I send it out, and 5 minutes later, one of my coworkers was like, hey, you watch wrestling? And I was like, wait, what the fuck? And so on every single screenshot, on the search, on the top right-hand side, there's like a Google search, right?
Yeah.
At the very top, it said WWE Sting. And I almost quit my job that day because everyone saw it, and they were just like, hey, Al, it's Al the wrestling guy. And, I have to live with that, and it's really rough, man.
Yeah, it's like things go in cycles, unfortunately. Like, I'm a little older than you. So when I was in high school, wrestling was super not popular because I was like during the days of Aldo Montoya and fucking all the neon men on a mission and shit like that. So wrestling was real fucking whack.
Yeah.
So like no one ever talked about it. But like every once in a while somebody would like, like make a reference and you'd be like, oh man, you used to watch wrestling too? And then like you could talk about it. But then like right after that was the Attitude Era. And that is like when everybody watched wrestling and it was completely fine to talk about wrestling in public. And unfortunately, that was 15, 17 years ago. So it has not been okay to talk about wrestling in public since like 2000.
Well, that's the thing, because that's like the last time everyone watched. Like, that's the last time wrestling was like a cultural, like, a touchstone. And so, like, when people talk about wrestling at my work, they're like, oh, yeah, like the suck it dudes. And I'm like, man, wrestling is so stupid. Why do I like this? Why can't I like camping, you know? And so, like, those conversations.
Did you just say camping?
I don't know. Like, what's. I would rather have any other hobby like to reveal in public than pro wrestling, but I just have a fucking social hang up about it.
See, I think in this internet age, I have a way of being super confident about things, even when I am wrong. If you want to listen to my other podcast, Kissing Contest, where I am wrong a lot, but I'm just like, I have a way of being super confident about stuff. And so like now when I get cornered and people are like, oh, you watch wrestling? Like, even if they're about to say something shitty about it, I just turn it around immediately. I'm like, yeah, wrestling's fucking awesome. Don't you watch it? And like, you can't, as long as you're completely confident about something, no one can tell you any different, because they can't. Like, as long as you're present yourself in a great way. But again, yeah, like if I went into work tomorrow and like somehow I left like fucking Best of the Worst WWE Raw on my computer and everybody saw it, I'd just be like, fuck. Like, so I understand both sides, but like regular people are a lot different than work people for me. And much like that would be leading into girls, which is usually a special part of our lives, at least. I don't know.
Sure.
About you people out there. So that has always been for me kind of a hurdle. Again, like during the Attitude Era was the only time I think I've ever had a girlfriend that was like also into wrestling and like completely down to go to wrestling, completely down with ECW.
Did she like it? Did she like it before you guys dated?
I think so. Yeah, she liked it before we dated, but it was like during that time though. So it was like when everybody liked it.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, like, you know, like I remember her brother liked it. Her brother like hooked us up with like these crazy tickets for Raw. And that was like the only time in my life. But since then, like more modern times, I, you know, I've had girlfriends since the Attitude Era. I've been very lucky. And yeah, usually like I could like ease it in where I mean, it kind of depends on the girl. Like up until recently, I've always dated pretty proper girls, I guess you would say, like more high. I don't want to say high maintenance. It sounds so shitty, but girls like that are very proper. Unfortunately, I am now old and a nerd, so I don't like. I used to be. I don't want to say I used to be way more good looking, but I was definitely could pull that shit off where I could be like kind of a scummy dude and still pull like hot girls that are kind of more high maintenance than the normal nerd girl. So now it's like a little easier to explain to girls I date because they usually tend to go for the nerdy guy. So they're just like, oh, of course he likes wrestling. He's a fucking nerd. He probably reads fucking comic books too. So I don't read comic books, by the way. Ladies, if you're listening out there, I don't read comic books. But
here's what I'm getting at. Like, if you're meeting a girl for the first time, like your leadoff batter is not going to be, I like watching pro wrestling, right?
No, I would definitely. I mean,
you're going to go with like, yeah, I got so and so, or I work at such and such. I'm into. You into eating?
You have to.
Are you into?
you like food?
You like eating? I like eating. What's up?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely try and wait until we've had sex, until it's like, yeah, you know what else I do on Mondays?
Gotcha.
I watch Raw. Show for 3.5 hours, and I hate myself for it because it's just fucking ingrained in my brain since I was a little kid, and there's nothing I could fucking do about it.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I've been lucky as well where, like, I guess like you, I've always, like, dated girls that had, like, older brothers where, like, they watch wrestling. And so when, like, they find out I like wrestling, they just be like, oh, it's that stuff my older brother would watch, and then just powerbomb me for no reason. So they kind of have already this, like, relationship with it somehow. And they've usually generally been pretty cool with it. But, I mean, like I said, it's not going to be something that comes up immediately just because there is kind of a deep shame about liking pro wrestling.
Yeah, I think to go back to the girls on Twitter thing, I think that's maybe why guys are like that to them, because they're like, holy shit, I don't have to hide this. But I don't know, like, I also feel those guys are at to the point where they can't hide it because they're so, like, they're so into it that that's the only thing they think about is wrestling. And that probably really sucks to be on that spectrum of wrestling fan where, like, that's all you have in your life.
I think the issue with, like, revealing that your pro wrestling fandom is that, like, pro wrestling is a very inclusive hobby. Like I also have other interests. Surprisingly, like I like to go record shopping. I like sneakers, and those are things I could do with my girlfriend, and it's not that big of a deal because girls like shoes, girls like music, and so we can go to these things or these functions, and she could totally have like she can just go off and do whatever she wants, right? Because she look at like, the other side of the record store, or like look at these shoes and be cool with it. Whereas pro wrestling, it's not the case, right? You have like a lot of dorks that are like trying to like check nerd stripes and shit, and like it's so awkward. I can't really explain like fandom in pro wrestling.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I remember, that same girl. I remember the first time I went to ECW, and that was like the first time I heard people using like message board terms in real life, and I was just like, holy shit, man. Like I can never get like this. Like I can never be like this person because I will never get laid ever again. And I guess it's just like because I like girls so much, wrestling has always been like the thing. Like if I had a girlfriend or a wife, God forbid, it's like my fucking train hobby or my collecting stamps hobby. It's just some fucking weird nerdy thing in my brain that I want to do by myself. I don't want any girl to share it with me. If they're down with it, that's cool too. I've watched Raw. My last regular girlfriend that I had, she would like watch Raw with me, and she wasn't into it before, but she was just like, oh, I could get down with this. It's something to watch on TV. It's trashy, but I don't want them to do that. If they feel uncomfortable watching it, I'm never gonna fucking force them. I'm never make them wear a lucha mask in bed or anything like that. And like I don't know, like I don't think some guys have that switch though, because they're just so ingrained in it, and it's the only thing they have. And yeah, you just gotta take a breath, guys out there. If you're like that, you gotta, I don't know, you gotta have more hobbies. You gotta have more hobbies that are like that can include women, basically. I also wanted to ask you though, is it much like these girls on Twitter, is it an attraction to you if you find out a girl likes Twitter or wrestling?
All right. I saw this girl at WrestleMania 26, and she was so fine, and she had a DX Suck It jersey on. Like, if I'm single and I see you at the bar with the King of Strong Style shirt, I'm gonna talk to you. Like, just because the icebreaker is there, right?
That's true.
I don't have to like think of like something witty. I don't like have to put on some kind of game. I can just be like, hey, you watch Wrestle Kingdom? And I'm in, I think. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so like, but in today's age, that's like kind of considered harassment. I feel like it's like, you don't have the right to talk to me because I have a wrestling shirt on. Let me live. But
yes,
if this girl, comes up to me and compliments my Great Muta shirt, like, yeah, she's getting points. Like, that's huge. So, yeah. I mean, it could be anything, though. Like, it doesn't have to be wrestling. If I see a girl with, like, a DS, or if I see a girl with some nice kicks on, like, I'll probably talk to her. If I'm single, mind you.
I think, like, the greatest pickup line a girl's ever spit to me, and it was unfortunate because I was at a party with my then girlfriend, but I was in line waiting for the bathroom, and I was wearing a Cleveland Indians hat, and this girl was like, do you like the Cleveland Indians, or are you just really into Major League? And I was like, oh my God, you're so fucking cool.
Yeah.
But,
exactly.
Yeah. So unfortunately I don't think I've ever had any wrestling flirtations, but again, I don't need it. I don't want it.
I mean, I've never seen a girl in public with a wrestling shirt on, like that's outside of a wrestling event. I mean, that'd be cool if I did, but I mean, if it happened, like, there's something that you could talk about for sure.
But you've mentioned that you've been on dates with your girlfriend and you've worn wrestling shirts, and she was embarrassed by it, correct?
I was being a little facetious. She like heard that episode and she was like, "Why are you lying about me?" But I mean, like, that takes a long time to develop. You know what I mean? You got to wear the flannels and you got to iron those shirts first, and then I can wear my best in the world Shinsuke Nakamura tee that I got in the mail today. To go eat Vietnamese food, and it's all good, you know what I mean? It's just, being comfortable. But like I said, you got to be comfortable, and if I'm not comfortable, I'm not going to tell you I like pro wrestling.
And also, as long as it's not like a Ryback shirt or something, like a Randy Orton tribal tattoo shirt.
I think I've seen.
I don't think any girl would be cool with that.
I think I've seen like this couple at like a house show, and they had matching tribal Randy Orton shirts, and whoever you're imagining in your head, that's exactly what they look like.
Yeah, I can imagine them. I'm not gonna name names or point them out, but I sent you a picture of two people wearing matching Bailey shirts, a couple, and I sent it to you mockingly, like, look at these guys, and you said at least he is with a girl that can hug him, and that is true. I mean, even if you're an uggo, like if you're with a girl that can hug you, you're doing a lot better than most wrestling fans. So hold on to that.
You're doing a lot better. I had one question for you. Has there ever been a time where it wasn't cool with a girl when you told them that you liked wrestling, or she just thought like it was like really dumb and like she would like never watch Raw or like do whatever with you?
Yeah, I mean, like this one girl, basically when I got out of tape trading and stuff, I was basically seeing this girl for 4 or 5 years, and like she could tolerate it to an extent, but yeah, she was mostly like, I definitely had to hide it and basically end up giving it up. Not because she would be like, you can't fucking watch wrestling. Like, she wasn't like that at all, but she was definitely not that type of girl. So, and I liked her a lot more than I liked being alone watching wrestling. So, that's how I felt.
I mean, for me, I've been lucky. Like, I've had girlfriends that were just like indifferent, which is fine. I mean, those girls are also, I used to date this girl, right? And she wanted to be a doctor. So she was watching like gore, like snuff films to get ready for like, I don't know what, like operations or whatever. And she would just be like chilling, like eating like Frosted Flakes, just watching the dudes like get their heads lopped off. And I was like, you know what? That's your hobby. You want to get used to that? I can't do that. That's horrifying.
Yeah.
And so I've gone from that side of the spectrum where there's like, wrestling's whatever, I'll go with you, to like, my girlfriend like went to WrestleMania with me last year. So it's huge. I mean, if we can share a hobby, it's great. But if not, it's fine.
That's how I feel too. Like the biggest attraction to me in girls is if a girl has her own shit going on. Like, I don't want a girl to glom onto my shit, no matter what it is, wrestling, fucking music.
Yeah, no girlfriend chameleons. Just fucking have your own shit.
But at the same time, I dated... Oh, this is a good story, actually. I dated an actual human Japanese girl for a long time from Japan.
Uh-oh.
I didn't buy her or anything. We met like regular people.
Come on.
And I mean, like, again, I'm a white guy, so it's weird. We were gonna get married, but we broke up. But
Mike, for real?
Yeah, but I mean, it was half of the reason was so she could stay in the country. I'm not gonna front, but we loved each other on top of that. But
did she like Joshi?
No, that's what I'm getting at. Like, that was where I was like, oh man, like I can just fucking rattle off all of these horrible, horrible things that have been sitting in my head, and she knows about them because she's from there. And she was not down with anime. She was like, I'm so fucking glad you don't like anime.
Yeah.
And I like asked her about the Fukans, oh Mikey, that show, because I'm super into that show. But yeah, she was just like, I was like, yeah, I really like Japanese wrestling. And she's like, that's for nerds. And I was just like, okay. And I remember we were dating when the Kabashi retirement happened.
Yeah.
And
were you crying? And she had like console you? Okay.
No, but I remember her. She's like, oh, what are you doing? And I was like, I'm gonna go home and watch Kabashi retirement. And she just like was laughing. She's like, ha, ha, ha. But she also like, it was weird because she like, but she knows because like the way Japan is, she knows who these people are still because
yeah.
fucking heroes. Like I think she came over one time and I was watching. I don't know if it was UFC Japan or just had a lot of Japanese people, but like Jushin Okami was on it, and she was like, "Oh my god, I gotta watch this," because it's just like something she remembers from when she lived there. But yeah, over it sucked because it was like the only time I've dated a Japanese girl, and she was like totally not into wrestling. Again, like I don't know what the perception is of wrestling in Japan when you're from there, but I imagine it's still kind of a lowly thing.
It's not that crazy because like on New Year's they have those like specials where like they have the big cards and they have the MMA stuff, so people know who Crow Cop is, like more so than you'd think.
Oh, actually, yeah, she would watch Raw with me every once in a while, and there's a picture on my Instagram of her doing the Fandango dance because she was fucking super into that. She loved the Fandango dance. She was just like, she would sing the song and do the dance all the time. So she got into it a little.
Unrelated story. I used to work at Game Crazy, and there was a Round Table Pizza next to it, and it was a Filipino dude. He had a Japanese girl from Japan. He had got her because he was teaching her English, and he walked in one day like, super sad, and I was like, "What's going on?" And he was like, "Man, my girl found my AV stash." So this dude, he had like 20 VHS tapes like in the trunk of his car. I don't know why he would put them there, but he did. And I think she ultimately broke up with him because he was outed as a fucking Japanese fetishist.
Yeah, that's weird. I didn't get any of that. I do remember one time we were talking, and I think this was like when we first started dating, and she was just telling me about like what she did before she moved and stuff, and she was like, "Do you know what piano bar means?" And I was like, "Do you mean like a hostess club?" And she's like, "Yeah."
Oh shit.
And I was like, she's like, "Yeah, I used to work at one." And I was just like, "Whoa, really?" Because she's like a very innocent girl. And she's like, "Yeah, it's no big deal." Like she's always be like, "When we go to Japan, I'm gonna take you to one." And I was just like, "That's fucking weird as hell." And she's like, "No, it's really fun." And I'm like, I don't know. So I guess I lucked out with that one because I don't think she would have cared if she found my AV stash.
Man, you would have had to bring like $5,000 to go to those places. But
yeah,
just to wrap this up, it is a shame, but it's good to be self-aware. And
I would like to. Sorry to interrupt you.
Go ahead, man.
I would like to think one of our main goals of this podcast is to make wrestling like not hip, but like an okay thing, okay thing for you to feel okay about with our shames, and an okay thing to talk about. And the way we talk about it is a fun, exciting, casual way.
Yeah, I'm gonna wear these fucking Adidas Yeezys with this Nakamura shirt, and I'm gonna like get on some Instagrams because it's gonna be so stylish, and I can't wait. Up next, VRTL Pros mixtape. Stay tuned. Welcome back to VRTL Pros, the Virtual Pros podcast. Our last segment, of course, is the VRTL mixtape. We got 4 bangers for you. Well, 3, I think.
Yeah.
You know what? Maybe 2. Who knows? So you go first, Mike.
Okay, I'm gonna go first. We mingled before this, and we decided to make this an all women's mixtape episode, and I wanted to represent my current WrestleBays in at least one match, and I managed to fit both of them in one match. The luck it would be that there's only really, I think, 30 Japanese women's wrestlers, so they have to square off eventually. So the first match I chose was Kana, aka Asuka, and her partner Sherry versus Konami and Makoto, which is my other WrestleBay that I talked about earlier. This is from Kana's farewell match from Reina, which I imagine is pronounced Lena in Japan.
That's racist.
It's not racist. I mean, that's the truth. I imagine it's pronounced Lena. I think this was the promotion a long time ago when I said, "Oh, it looks like it was filmed in a basement." I think I was thinking of Reina.
It's always Cork and Hall when you say this, which is like the funniest fucking thing.
But it's so dark. It's like so darkened you could only barely make out the first row. So it just looks like outside of that ramp, like the wall goes back maybe 5 feet after the ring. Like it just looks.
It's only the most famous pro wrestling building in the world.
Well, tell them to light it better. I don't fucking tell you. Like maybe tell them to get more people to watch it so they could light it better. So yeah, I'm not gonna lie, this match was kind of a dud. It's fucking super long. It's a half an hour long, and I don't know. I fell asleep like twice during this match. I will say in the beginning, it sucks because they don't play the music for copyright reasons, but they do this. Kana and Shuri do this crazy elaborate dance number, and it is spectacular. Let me tell you. outside of that, this match, there's no announcer and no one is saying anything in the crowd. So it is super creepy to watch because, again, it's like watching four ladies wrestle in a darkened basement. And I basically just wanted to watch Makoto and Kana go at it for, for sexy reasons. And it didn't let down. Like I said at the beginning, I don't think Makoto's that great of a wrestler. Shuri is okay. Konami, again, is not that great. And yeah, I don't know. I thought this match was going to be amazing because it's like her farewell match, but it's just like, it's decent. She's in her legendary NXT gear by this point. The only other thing
I had a question about that. You think she only has one set? How many sets do you think she has of that costume? I think that costume is so elaborate. She only has one, and I don't know. How do you watch that thing? How do you watch Final?
I think if you look closely, I feel like she has a couple with different patterns, but they have the same colors. But I could be wrong though. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't want to think about that. I don't want to think about Kana smelling bad ever. And because I imagine she's like, I'm going to find out. I'm going to NXT this weekend, and she better be there. And I'm going to find out what she smells like. I don't care how creepy that sounds, because I'm going to find out. No, I'm just kidding. That sounded super creepy.
I'm gonna smell her hair.
That is my fucking dream. But
some notes that I took on this match is
I just had one more note.
Oh, go ahead.
And that is I don't think I've ever paid attention to Kana actually speaking in Japanese, and she sounds so much better speaking Japanese. Like, I always kind of thought in NXT when she speaks, the rare time she speaks, I always thought she was trying to do some Muppet voice, and I'm guaranteed that's what she's trying to do. She sounds so weird when she speaks English.
Well, she can't speak like polite Japanese English. Like, that doesn't come across in wrestling promos. Like, I don't know.
I guess.
Some of my notes. Makoto, most timid wrestler ever. She just looks like she's so scared, like, in the ring. She doesn't do anything like spectacular. She's kind of really bad at wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
Kana,
I still love her. I heard she's coming to New York, and I'll probably won't actually go to the wrestling match, but if it's a way that I can go to it, I'm definitely gonna go to it. And I'm gonna smell her hair too. Like,
you're gonna have your phone out with her and you're like, you owe me. You owe me a hair smell.
No, there's one of her shirts that I really like. So she actually does perform in New York, and like a place that I could actually go to. I'll probably go just to get one of her shirts.
Oh man. Kana hits this like spinning kick that is like definitely gonna happen at NXT Dallas. It was really, really good. I also think that when she lands that kick, Bailey's going to go into a seizure, because seizure endings are going to be what's popping in 2016 because of concussions. Like, I'm calling it right now. People are going to do like, the knockout thing where like their arms are like stiffened just for realism. I'm calling it right now. Virtual Pros, that's going to be the sell of 16, is being in a fucking seizure. At the end, like, they do the final dance send-off number for Kana. And you can just tell that Konami is like super winded because she wrestled like 99% of the match because Makoto's so bad at wrestling. So like, you can just catch her like panting and like trying to catch up with everyone dancing, but she just can't because she's just so tired. And that's all I had about that. The next match we're going to cover is from the mid-90s. It was on WCW Nitro. It was a tag match between Mayumi Ozaki and Cutie Suzuki versus the goddess Bull Nakano and the queen, Dangerous Queen, Akira Hokuto. I guess the reason why I picked this match is because the other match I picked was like 47 minutes long. Mm-hmm. In comparison to this match, which is like 6 or 7. It's just so novel. Like, you have Mongo McMichael on the call for a Joshi wrestling match that would like headline any like AJW card in like the mid-90s. And it takes place in Salem, Virginia, which is also kind of weird. One of my notes is that I'm pretty sure that Koji Kanemoto and Ultimo Dragon and Bull Nakano, they all got the same theme music, which is mad racist. I think the two coolest spots in the match was like Akira Hokuto. She like stands on the middle rope while headlocking Ozaki, and it looks like Ozaki is like being hung, and she's like swinging her head, which looks that looks super cool. Violent, but it's really cool. Cutie Suzuki is wearing a nightie while wrestling, which is great for all the pervos out there.
Hell yeah.
And lastly, I think Bull Nakano tears ACL at the end of this match.
Yes.
One of the main reasons why I picked this match is that Bobby the Brain Heenan, if he called this match in 2016, he would be fired immediately. Here's some quotes from Bobby the Brain. the Japanese eat and breathe training. That's what they live for. Not that suspect, but a little. You're kind of The paintbrush is a little too broad. It gets even worse. He says that Bull Nakano is rather attractive in kind of oriental way.
I have that note. Yes.
When Ozaki and Suzuki hit that double stomp that you were talking about earlier in the match, he says that's what's known as an oriental Heimlich. He thinks Bull Nakano is bigger than a Honda. And when Akira Hokuto does a flip outside the ring, he says, that's kamikaze right there. Bobby the Brain is in full, I just got back from the war mode. And yeah, not the best match in the world, but you know what? For 6 or 7 minutes, worth checking out.
Yeah, you unfortunately took all my notes because all of my notes are just Bobby Heenan quotes, but I will say overall, what my note does say, not as racist as I thought. Like, I was just like I was just rubbing my hands together like Birdman, just like, oh my God, this is going to be a fucking treat. Bobby Heenan and Mongo McMichael and clueless Tony Schiavone telling me about these 4 Japanese women. And it wasn't nearly as bad as I expected. Only one kamikaze. That is amazing. He also, in the beginning, he is very thirsty for Akira Hokuto.
Yeah.
He's just like, she's super attractive. He says very attractive like a couple times. And who could blame him? But
I used to ridicule you about Akira Hokuto's looks, and I've come around, and I kind of think Akira Hokuto is kind of sexy.
She is, like, again, she's it's not for everybody.
She has like this weird substitute teacher look about her that I'm really really like feeling right now as an old man.
Outside of that, this match, did you watch this match when it was new or anything?
I didn't watch it when it aired. I don't think. Okay. Maybe I did. I'm not sure.
Oh yeah, because I assume I saw this, but back then it was like, because Bull Nakano, she was in WWF too, right?
Yeah, she was.
Was that her name in WWF also?
Yeah, she was Bull Nakano everywhere.
Okay. So yeah, like I probably saw this match, I just don't remember it. This match is just crazy because it's like 7 minutes long, and it is like all these girls doing all of their moves that they would do in a 40-minute match in 7 minutes, and it's pretty ridiculous. And also, it's very odd that there's a point where Bull Nakano goes up to the top rope, and like the whole crowd loses their shit immediately.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
But then, she just doesn't hit her move. But then, like, everybody else goes to the top ropes a million times, and no one gives a shit. It's just like the one big girl going to the top ropes was enough to just like drain the energy out of the crowd.
I posted this in DVD-VR. Like, Hulk Hogan can't walk because of the leg drop. I can't imagine how Bull Nakano's lower back feels. Like, I get home, like, from sitting in an ergonomic chair for 8 hours, and I feel like my back is gonna melt. Like, this woman was hitting like leg drops straight up, like from cage matches. So
I imagine
I feel
now
for her, man.
Now she's a tiny, tiny woman, so I imagine she lost all that weight probably from doing some type of yoga. So she's probably fine. I imagine Hulk Hogan has never even heard of yoga, so she probably has a leg up on him. Pun intended.
Heyo.
Okay, my final match is Combat Toyota versus Megumi Kudo from FMW, May 5th, 1996. This is Combat Toyota's farewell match from the wrestling world. Combat Toyota, so unimportant, doesn't even have a Wikipedia page, which is kind of crazy to think about. But this is basically, I can't say for sure, but I am almost positive this is the first actual Japanese women's wrestling match that I watched pretty much on purpose, I would say. Outside of when Japanese girls would fight in America, which does not count. This was on, as you juggalos would know, this match was featured on Stranglemania Part 2. And they had different names. Megumi Kudo was known as Sweet Sugar Ass. And Combat Toyota was known as Sweaty Ned and Armageddon. And that was their Stranglemania names. It's mostly notable for Stranglemania 2 because there was a point in this match where Combat Toyota gives Megumi Kudo one of the sickest looking power bombs on earth, and the ICP who are commentating over this match start rewinding it. Like, you see them rewind it and play it over and over again, and just watch her like power bomb Megumi Kudo over and over again, and it is like one of the most hilarious things ever. I wanted to include that on the mixtape, but I watched like 2 seconds of it, and it's not very PC anymore. I don't want to have that. I don't want to tarnish our beloved mixtape with very un-PC remarks. But outside of that, this is a electrified barbed wire death match, no ropes. And it's very odd because not only is it women in a death match, which Megumi Kudo did quite often in FMW, but it's not wrestled like a man's death match. Like, they go into the ropes a few times and it explodes and it makes like a cool visual, but they're not like rubbing their faces in the barbed wire. They're not brawling outside or anything like that. It's pretty straightforward. Them just wrestling, and the big high spot is them bumping each other into the ropes. There, the barbed wire. And it's pretty cool. I don't think it's as like fucking mind blowing as it was when I first saw it 15 years ago, but it's still great. The one thing that I'm like, I don't know how they did this, but obviously, I don't think the barbed wire is legit electrified. That would be fucking insane. But at the same time, when they fly into it, sparks come out, and you see Megumi Kudo fall down, and her like fucking shoulders are fucked. And it's not even like, it's not like barbed wire cuts or anything. They're just like, they're all gray, like they've been burned. And so I don't know like if that is a special effect or what. I don't want to know, because the whole story of this match is Combat Toyota is a very ugly woman. She is, she's like lunch lady ugly. She'll fuck your shit up. And Megumi Kudo is a tiny, tiny, extremely pretty girl in these horrible death matches. And so that's like the whole story. So seeing her just like fall to a heap with like her back or like her shoulders all fucked up from this electricity supposedly, it's kind of a shocking visual. Also, this match was also known for watching Atsushi Onita get super emotional in the crowd. Is he married to Megumi Kudo? Is that what the deal is?
No, so in real life, Megumi Kudo is married to Bad Boy Hito, which he was the third part of Gato and Jado's Team No Respect crew. But he was just being emotional. That's what he does. He just cries. To get back to your point, though, about how this happens, is that I heard that they tie car batteries to the barbed wire, and like if you touch it, you're going to get fucked.
So do you think it really is electrified, then?
Dog, you saw Megumi Kudo just get burned. Like, her back is like full of ash. Like, that doesn't come out of nowhere. It's not like
FMW is fucked.
It's not like Jeff Jarrett like putting like talcum powder in his guitar and like hitting people over the head with it. Like, they were like getting really messed up for real. It's fucked up. I'll keep my notes kind of short.
FMW is fucking crazy.
FMW is the best. I have some short notes here.
Also, actually, before you get into your notes, this is the first time I saw this version of the match with the crazy interview in the beginning where they're like so nice and polite before they fucking ruin each other's lives.
Yeah.
And so if you are watching this match on our mixtape thing, bit.ly/VRTL mixtape, it's like if you have the time, like the match starts about 8 minutes in, but if you have the time, watch the interviews because it's pretty great.
Some backstory between Megumi Kudo and Combat Toyota. They're from the same All Japan women's class. I think the year was 1986. They all got geeked up about the Crush Gals, and they were just like, we're going to be wrestlers. And they all got cut at the same time, I think. Combat Toyota is kind of like the Great Value Aja Kong. She's not as good. She's not as cool. But she's not bad. And Megumi Kudo at this time was like the 3-time defending Wrestle Bay of the Year. It was her and Mayumi Ozaki just battling for that crown of just like Japanese foxes. I think the highest spot of this match is Megumi Kudo just like not being strong enough to powerbomb Combat Toyota, and she just takes a vertebrae off her neck. I'm not a huge fan of these matches personally, but I think like this match was really well done. I thought like the teases were really good, and if you're a fan of that era of FMW, it's definitely maybe a top 10 for you.
For sure. The
last match of the night for episode 10 is between Shinobu Kandori and Akira Hokuto. This takes place at AJW's Dream Slam, which was filmed in February 4th, 1993, which makes it 23 years ago. That's crazy. Mm-hmm. This card was just like all inter-promotional matches, and inter-promotional angles are like my favorite. It's just like one dojo going to another dojo and like, I'm gonna steal your sign. And I think that's like the best angle like wrestling can ever provide. For those that don't know, Kandori has like this legit judo background. She's like the 3-time All Japan Judo Champion of Japan. And Akira Hokuto, if you don't know, she's just like, part of that Mount Rushmore of women's wrestling. So she's playing the young punk versus like Kandori's elder statesman aura. This match opens up with just like this sickening elbow by Hokuto. Like you can hear it. It's fucking gross. And then she gets on the mic and just talks some shit. And then Kandori's not having any of that, and so she breaks her arm, I think, for real. And that's really gross. Other than that, like the 10 minutes of just brawling and like them exchanging holds and like just brutal suplexes. There's a part where Kandori pile drives, or I think tombstones Hokuto on this table, and then they cut to it, and it looks like she left a dent on those hard-ass Japanese tables. And this is really like the biggest visual you're going to take from this match. Wally Yamaguchi, aka the leader of Kaientai, he's outside, and he's responsible for cutting open Hokuto. And he does a very bad job because Hokuto was a fucking mess. She gets color, and Kandori, she blades as well, but it's not as bad. Just to sum it up, I'm a huge fan of like top 10 lists, and this is in my top 10 of like all-time wrestling matches. Like the drama, Hokuto's selling. I think in a previous episode I said she's not the best wrestler in the world. I kind of take that back. Like she's up there. You could bring her up as like a GOAT. Like she's so good at wrestling. Kandori is not great at wrestling, but she does her job as like, the elder statesman badass. And if you haven't seen it, you should watch it for sure.
Yeah, unfortunately, mostly all of my notes are just going to mirror your notes. But yeah, this is my first time seeing this. And what I like most about these women's matches, these older women's matches from the early 90s, is the interview segments in the beginning. And sometimes, because now that I've been watching this crap for however many weeks we've been doing this show, I'm like in my suggestions, and I'll just like click on it just to watch the interviews in the beginning. Like, I wish they could mimic that. Like, there's no way I could explain this on an audio podcast, but just like the color patterns they use and like how straight-laced the interviewer guy is, and just like these women and their like crazy fucking like very crazy costumes that they wear, and everything is just like so amazing. And I wish there's a way to replicate that without making it corny. And it's cool because they do before and after interviews. And if you go to our Instagram, VRTL Pros, I did a before and after side by side of Akira Hokuto before and after this match. And I think that tells the story of this match. As I said, I never saw this before. I'm pretty sure I've at least watched an interview or something with Kandori before, because I know her look, because she looks like a young Antonio Inoki with breasts almost. She has that haircut, and it's like a very weird dynamic because it's a young Inoki in a leotard versus Akira, super sexy and tanned in this match. She got a super good tan for this match. She knew this was going to be like a real fucking big one for her. And like Al said, this match starts with her just elbowing the shit out of Kandori and getting right on the mic and talking some shit. And this is like, outside that Liger kicking over Vader's mask, man, this is one of the greatest beginnings to a match ever. And yeah, and then right off the bat, then Kandori's like, fuck you. Like, and she just breaks her arm. Yeah. And it's super weird. And yeah, this isn't like the greatest wrestled match. It's not like the greatest technically wrestled match, but as far as brawls go, even like including men, this has to be top 5. Like as far as like a brawling wrestling match goes, this match is incredible. It's like it's very much a real war. It's insane. Like, I mean, there's, obviously there's parts of it where you're like, okay, that looks kind of sloppy, but outside of that, like, this is just like one of the most amazing brawls in wrestling I've ever seen. And as Al said, the dent in the table spot is a tombstone pile driver, and they do the thing that, every wrestler does where they get in the pile drive position and then the other one like arches, so they reverse it. And it's so scary watching them do this because they are on the tiniest real Japanese table, and you're just like, holy shit, like, how do they have the balance to do this? It's like so scary watching them do this, the reversal spot. And then Kandori fucking drops her on the head and it leaves a dent in this fucking table, and it's insane. And yeah, right after that is when she blades, and it's so crazy because her hair, she's a blonde girl and her hair is just red immediately, and then Kandori just has like this tiny little cut on her face after they get done brawling into the thing. And I mean, from start to finish, the only bad thing I would have to say about this match is, for whatever reason, they don't show the actual entrances. They cut to the ring. But this is like I think 40 minutes or something from start to finish, like 38 minutes. It's totally worth your time. If you are a wrestling fan, I would say you should seek this match out. It's a must-see.
Just to wrap this whole episode up, I think the theme of this episode is respect women. All right?
Respect women.
Respect women, man. Twitter, VRTL Pros, same as Instagram. Hit us up on SoundCloud. Hit that heart. Leave a comment. Do whatever you want to do.
Email
at virtualpros64@gmail.com. We're putting these questions out. Oh, shit. I had some emails to read, but I didn't get to them. Next episode.
We'll have a big special next episode. We'll accumulate all these emails.
Hey, we'll really get to them.
Sorry, guys. Sorry. Oh, I know. Odai, I think his name is.
Yeah.
Odai. I always forget. I've talked to this dude on Skype, and I can't remember how he says his name. Listener Adam. I want to shout out Listener Adam. He's always a case on Twitter. He's always fucking propping our shit up on there. And again, us new listeners. So I want to shout him out before we go.
Appreciate it. And iTunes as well. Leave a review. You might get that Best of Raw 2007 in the mail. Maybe not. That was Virtual Pros, episode 10. Mike, you got anything?
No, that's it.
Hey, we're good, man. Thanks for listening.